Today, on the early morning show, why do women pretend to be men online? Let's cue the rooster and get this show started.
Every time I need this shit, devil make another.
Hey man, if you got something that you believe in and you believe that you can do it and nobody else do, just go for it. It's your life. My life is moving fast, I gotta slow it down. Yeah, now I got it, they all come around. But when I ain't have it, they nowhere to be found. Yeah, I had to stick with the ones who stay down. And now a lot of people say I changed on them, because I'm whipping in the range on them. I don't think I'm acting different, I just found out that these folks ain't in my interest. And you ain't got a lot of kick it. I messed around and pulled a whole foe up. Banging zero, I roll up. I don't do it, boy, you gotta grow up. I'm all scared to believe.
Good morning and welcome. Today on the early morning show, we ask the question on many men's minds, and that is, why do women insist on pretending that they are men on social media or online? From men's only sites to male only Facebook postings, women are faking that they are men online. In the groups where men gather to be themselves, exclusive from the complaints of the fair gender, this strange phenomenon seems to be occurring more and more each day, with no end in sight. But why would a group of women who profess to despise men and want no part of them follow them around every part of the internet, pretending to be men under the radar now, not like the men will have to be, of discovery? Now, there are various reasons of which we will discuss this morning with you. And the first one, or number one, they would like to influence men back into brainwashing that they escape from. So a lot of them want to criticize guys into saying, hey, you should do what's right. You're not acting like a decent person. They want you to go back into the time that you were a little child and all you accepted was whatever they told you. So it's the shame and blame tactic that they won't use on themselves. So if you fall for that, you've fallen for everything, brother. So don't let them shame and blame you back into where you were, what you escaped from, what you took the red pill to get away from. Now, that leads to number two. They try to sell sex to men on the promise of sex for money. You see? So maybe sex for the sake of sex for themselves or in exchange for money. So a lot of times they will link up with your account on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or YouTube, and they'll try to elicit you with sex with the promise of a phony relationship or the promise of sex to get money from you. Either way, if she's out of a job, you're not. Okay? So in a row, when you notice these things happening, and all of a sudden email you never knew before, it moves you to the next territory. Now, number three, to attack men in anonymity while having them think that they are a man themselves. So women that pretend to be males online try to act as if they are men. So you have a face with a guy on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, but that's actually a woman pretending to be a guy, and so she can criticize you as a guy or pretend like she's just as much as buddy as you are. And it's like those old trolling sites where guys would troll for little girls. Women are actually trolling for guys pretending to be guys. That's a large ruse to go through for something like that. Which leads us to number four, to divide and conquer men as sport while pretending to be a man with a conscience. So in this particular one, while they pretend to be a man online, you think it's a dude, and you have a conversation. All of a sudden, one dude comes in there, he's the defense of all women. You think he's a white knight. He's not a white knight. This is a woman who's pretending to be a man, and you have no more idea than a goat. On some of the things, like on Facebook, if you go to the page, you'll see her name and her pictures of her with no clothes on. So you'll know it's not a dude. But anytime you get this trolling or so-called decent men step in for an argument as if they're a woman, guess what, brother? They are women, even on Reddit. Which leads to the next one. Number 5, to divide and conquer men online by painting them as bad men. So a new feminist tactic, when people went to online like MGTOW and stuff like that, or Red Pill to Separate, was to chase them on those particular sites and try to criticize them, try to demonize whatever they can do to say, hey, you are a bad man. You need to reform yourself. You need to go back to the plantation where you escaped from. Which leads us to the next one. Now, we already talked about number 5. Number 6, as we move along, is just as bad. Don't let them control you online. If you think it's a dude, check him out. Number 6, to learn more about the men that she has been avoiding her entire life. So a lot of these women know nothing about dudes because they haven't been around no dude since they was a little girl. And what they try to do is they go talk to you about how should they deal with men so they can go out and capture men. You're actually teaching them how to capture and sabotage a new man. Now, they may do this as a female, or they may pretend to be a male, just learn about other males. But it is a woman. Okay? A lot of people we call simps and white knights. Check them out, brother. Go to their site. When these people want to follow you on Facebook, follow you on Instagram, follow you on Twitter, if they're so anxious to follow you, check them out. Next one. Number 7. To speak sexually or freely about issues other women consider embarrassing with their phony sense of decency. So a lot of times women don't go to other women's sites because they act too damn decent. So they want to come over to the men's site and talk just as nasty as they want to, just as sexual as they want to, just as butch as they want to, just as sailor as they want to, thinking that that's the way dudes talk. But this is the way she wants to be around men in anonymity. You've seen it on the street. If you was in the army, you've seen women in the army. If you have a job site, you see women that are more bawdy than men, right? Which leads us to the next territory of her following men online to sabotage you. Number 8, to monitor their boyfriend's online communication without him ever being aware of it. So if you have a girlfriend or a wife, she joins the site where you're on or your webpage with a male's face and a male's name, pretending to be that guy, so she can monitor all your conversation, learn what you think about, learn what you talk about, learn where you're going, learn who you've seen in the past, and learn where you want to go in the future. So she's pretending to be a male to pretend to get to the closer male you are. Now, she wouldn't allow you to do that. That would be called stalking. So a lot of this stuff is stalking. A lot of this stuff is actually illegal. But if you put in 2 different groups, it's different, right? Let's go to number 9. To set up their man with a trap by faking they are a strange woman of interest. So she sets up with a different woman's face, a different woman's name and body, even with the help of her friends, and trolls you pretending that she's another woman getting a relationship with you. So she can get you cheating or having an adulterous affair. But they actually will go through this much trouble to set you up in a so-called committed relationship. So you always have to be careful, especially when you're living with somebody or you're dating somebody. Who is that person online? Is it really a male, or is it really the female who says she's a female? Check them out. And the final, let's go to number 10. To sabotage his page in order to get it demonetized, silenced, or removed from the web completely. This is the biggest thing. You get a lot of these women on there pretending to be men, and what the hell do? They'll find your page, and whether you're MGTOW, Red Pill, whatever you are, and they'll say the nastiest stuff on there. They'll say things that will offend women. They say things that will hurt women. They even threaten women with death. They leave that comment on your page. They wait to see if you comment. Then they report you and both comments as something dangerous. And Facebook will take you down. Instagram will take you down. Twitter will take you down. YouTube will especially take you down. So you got to watch out for this. Even on our page, we watch a lot of that. Now, even on our page, we get a lot of women who have these things where they're trying to sell sex. So every time we put out a video, we get a bunch of these. I need a girlfriend. I'm lonely. How about you? I don't need it. Okay? I can get that anytime. I don't need to get it online. So if you have a site where you allow the females to come in and do that stuff, they're actually trolling on your site. You ask, why do they go to men's sites or men's Facebook, men's Twitter, MGTOW sites? Because they're trolling for men. If women want to find men, you don't go to a female site to find them. You go to where the men are. The men run from them. They take up residence right behind you. So they're going to your site, trolling for you to bring you over to porn so you could pay. Trolling for you to bring you only to OnlyFans so you could pay. Trolling to get you in a relationship for you so you could pay. Trolling to get you in a marriage so you could really pay. Okay? So tell us what you like about the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Stick around because we have what? The Man's Bartender. Time to get your drink on, brother. We'll be back in just a minute. And watch out online. It's 5 o'clock on a planet somewhere, and we're about to get our drink on. Welcome to The Man's Bartender. Today, on The Man's Bartender, we'll tell you how to make that boring white wine into watermelon California coolers. Hey guys, what's up, what's up, what's up? And welcome to The Man's Bartender. You know what time it is. It's time to get your drink on. Glad to have you guys here with us today. Many times in the, starting in the 70s, 80s, that drink was popular, the seltzer drink, California Cooler, right? You know, you get the bottle and you can make your own California Cooler. You just need a few ingredients. So today we're going to use some Josh Cellars. It's a Pinot Grigio. We're going to use some vermouth, Martini Rossi. Use the Monster drink here, and that is like a fruit punch. It's called Pipeline Punch. And we're going to use an actual watermelon Kool-Aid. It's a little bit of watermelon Kool-Aid, about a cup. That's what we're going to use, okay? Now, you can put it in a wine glass. You can put it in a straight glass. That's traditional wine glass. These now have been, the stem has been removed, so it's supposed to be classy. You can do champagne in either one. So if you got it at the house, use what you got, okay? It's always nothing special with me. So we're going to use a barrel shaker as usual, right? Put ice in there. Now we're going about halfway with this. Because what we actually want to do, we're going to actually get those fruit juices to mix with the alcohol. Now the reason we're using two different types, we're going to use some wine for sure, but wine in and of itself doesn't have that kick. Okay, so the wine will cover like the cooler will, but you need something to give it a buzz, a snap to it, and that's what we're going to use the vermouth for. So we're going to use about, I don't know, we don't need any more than about, let's do about 4 ounces of that. Okay, there we go. 4 ounces of that. Now to that we want to add the 1 cup of watermelon Kool-Aid. Right? You guys all had it before? Everybody said watermelon Kool-Aid. You remember when you was a kid? Even the Jolly Ranchers. So this particular brand tastes like that Jolly Rancher candy. You remember you had it all the time? Because you found that your parents had that mint candy that nobody likes, and then you found that Jolly Rancher candy. Alright. So also, we're going to add is about a little bit over a cup of the Pinot Grigio. Alright, there we go. So now we got that 4 ounces of the vermouth, Martini Rossi. We got the Pinot Grigio, and that's the Josh Cellars. And the last part we're putting there will be that Monster juice drink, the Pipeline Punch. But we won't put that in there right now because it's seltzer, and it would just burst out of that barrel shaker. Now remember, the barrel shaker is just enough to get the ingredients mixed together. There's no fancy way of shaking it. You can do like this, you can do like this, behind the head, you can do that, you know, traditional way, which would be up and down, up and down. What you're really trying to do is get the ingredients mixed at the end and the beginning of the shaker, okay? That's what you want. You guys see that, right? You see that? You go fast, you go slower. This is fine. We're not trying to do that, what was that, Tom Cruise movie? Where he's in the bar. Nobody's trying to do that, right? Alright, so get her going, get her going, get her going, get her going, get her going. Alright, so there we have it. Take that off of there. Pour it up. Now, we don't need any more than half of that, because we need to leave room for that energy drink. Now, one thing about energy drinks, they really do have that caffeine where it goes to your brain quicker. So it's another reason that we're adding it to this particular drink. There you go. Fill her up. You guys have a party, make sure you invite your friends over. Well, it's going to be a party of one, right? Give it one little stir. Ditto. That is good. You got everything going in there. You got the vermouth to give it that one little small kick. You got the Pinot Grigio to give it that wine sensation. You've got the monster drink, which is a pipeline punch with that Turin in there. And you've got the watermelon punch that we added to there. So, get your drink on, and we'll be back in just a minute. I see you. We got some for you too. Don't worry, we got you. I hope to see you back next time on The Man's Bartender. Join me each week, and we're going to be making some great drinks, some crazy drinks, and stuff that you can prepare for your friends at a party where it looks like you've been a bartender for a long time. Thank you for watching A Minute. Today on The Man's Kitchen, some of the best tasting chicken comes from a fast food chain. But did you know you could also make chicken at home yourself? Today we're making seasoned southern fried chicken. Come join us. Morning, fellas, and welcome to The Man's Kitchen. Today we're going to do southern fried chicken. Seasoned southern fried chicken. Spicy southern fried chicken. We're going to do it 11 herbs and spices. Not the kernels, but 11 herbs and spices. Or as many as we can pack in there. We want a little bite to it, so we want to make it a little bit hot at the same time. So one thing we're going to do, chicken is always, that southern fried is always done with buttermilk and flour. So if you're going to use buttermilk, it's best to go ahead and let the buttermilk marinate with the chicken for at least 20 minutes before you fry it. Today I got some time, so we're going to use about 2 hours to let it marinate. So we're taking some fresh chicken, some fresh bear chicken. That's farm raised, free range. And you're going to need a pan, right? Because the chicken's going to go in there. But inside it, we're going to put the bag. Because we want that to have some place to marinate. So I got the bag down in there, just like that. We'll go ahead and take the chicken and open it up. Now, I'm using any particular brand of buttermilk, doesn't matter. This is an Organic Valley buttermilk. It's I've already shaken it up to get it going, you know, like the man's bartender. Okay, so let's get back to the chicken. Now, the enzymes in that buttermilk are going to work with that chicken to give it a particular flavor. If you've ever had a grandmother where you had country buttermilk biscuits and that sort of thing, you know there's a certain bitter tang to buttermilk that doesn't exist in regular milk. And so that will permeate that entire chicken through that fatty flesh. And it'll give it a flavor. It'll give it a flavor. So you don't just want to batter the chicken. You want the chicken to taste like something beyond just flesh. So when you go to places, I guess, like Popeyes, KFC, those type places, you want to have that type of buttermilk chicken. Now, this is free-range chicken. And free-range chicken is a little bit more yellow than the average chicken. But let me tell you something I learned in the many jobs I took going to things like college and starting a business way back when I got out of the military in the 90s. You can always tell if chicken is fresh. And they teach us. Even when I worked at KFC back then. If you ever eat chicken and you bite down to the bone and the bone is black, that means, and KFC will tell you, and all those places will tell you, because the chicken was either frozen or it's old. Either way, you don't want that kind of chicken, so you may get sick from that. So you go out and eat a great piece of food at either Popeyes, KFC, or one of those chicken places. And if you get sick and you get down to the bone, look at the bone is black. Because most of those places, they only get fresh chicken. they never get chicken frozen. So they get it straight from the farm. It's ice on the chicken in a big box, but it's never frozen. So they say that if the bone, when you get down to the bone, is either black, it's either it was frozen before they fried it, or it was either old chicken, and both are really no good. Okay, so this is farm raised, and it's only been chilled, it hasn't been frozen. But that's just something to go by, that you know. In those places, you should not see a dark piece of meat once you get down to the bone. Okay, so I go ahead and take these gloves off. And we'll turn it around where you can see it. And you can see that in that bag, the chicken breast. Okay? Okay, so we want to put some of that milk down there. You can just put a couple of cups. It doesn't matter. But we want to make sure that it's coated. And I'm making sure that the buttermilk container does not come into contact with that chicken, because we don't want to contaminate that. Now you could always use that buttermilk for biscuits also, and we'll be doing those recipes in the future. My father came from the South of the United States, and that's what they did. Males and females alike, they taught them how to cook. Okay, so we want to get all the air out of that container right there. Air is a big carrier for things like bacteria, and so we don't need that in there anyway. And we need that milk to come into contact with that chicken, so we don't want any air in that package. And so you can take that just like that, put it in the freezer, in the refrigerator. You don't put it in the freezer because you have a whole block of buttermilk ice. Okay, so just like that, we can put it inside of the refrigerator for 20 minutes at the minimum. Like I say, I'm leaving it at 2 hours. You can leave it in many hours. I wouldn't suggest overnight, because that enzyme in that buttermilk will really work on that chicken. Okay, so that should make the chicken also softer. So we'll put that in the refrigerator, and we'll come back in a couple of hours, and we'll go ahead and batter that with all those seasonings, and I'll show you how to do the seasonings, and then we'll fry it up. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't go nowhere. Enjoy the music. We'll be right back. Hey guys, it's been a couple of hours now. The chicken has marinated in the buttermilk, but I forgot to tell you guys, you need to whip in 2 eggs. So you take 2 eggs, you scramble that, and that goes in with the buttermilk, and that rests with it for a couple hours, 20 minutes, a couple hours, just not overnight, okay? So I went back and I mixed in the eggs into the buttermilk, and it's all ready. Let's make some southern fried chicken that's seasoned, spicy. Let's do it. Okay, so first thing you see is I have a pan, my trusty pan, and I've got that whole oil heating up in there. I got it on a medium high almost, and I can always lower the temperature back when it's time to cook. So we've got our chicken that's already been marinating in that buttermilk and absorbing that tart taste. So what we're gonna need is about 2 cups of flour. 2 cups of flour to help us make the mix. And you can see this whole rainbow mixture here. That's the 2 cups of flour. We need 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay, we got a half teaspoon of thyme, a half teaspoon of basil, 1 teaspoon of oregano. We've got a half teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of mustard powder. We've got 2 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of garlic salt. We've got 1 tablespoon of pepper, that's white pepper. We've got 1 teaspoon of cayenne powder. Now the cayenne powder, you don't want to go too heavy on that because cayenne powder is spicy and it is strong. So we have 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and finally we have the white pepper. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to go ahead and mix that flour in the bag. These bags that you can get from Walmart or local convenience store, as long as they're nice and clean, use it as a mixing bag. In the old days, those women in the South, they used a paper bag. So we'll take those seasonings, we all at once, we'll put them down in that bag. Okay? Now, what you want to do is you want to twist that bag to where there's a little air pocket in there, not much more. But make sure you twist it, because we're going to shake that up to mix that around. And remember that cayenne powder is in there, and that will burn you, if not your nostrils. So we want to let that out. It tastes good on chicken, not in your nose. And make sure when you get one of these bags, get a bag that does not have a hole in it to start with. This one does not. So I have a lid there, just in case that wants to pop out of there. Now, my oil right there looks almost hot enough. And you can always tell the oil. If you want to, you could drop a little bit of flour in there and it starts to react with the flour. That means it's ready. You could drop a little piece of chicken in there, whatever you have. When that activates the oil, it's ready. And then we want to turn it down a little bit. You don't want to have that oil so high. We're trying to cook the chicken, not vaporize it. Okay, so that's about finished. I went around all the corners with that. And remember, I'm holding it tight at the same time so I don't decorate myself, the counter, and a half a mile away with that powder. Alright. So now that we got that done, we could load that chicken in there a little bit at a time. So I'll go ahead and break that bag open. And that buttermilk is there. Go ahead and get a piece out. And I can do that with my hands. That's why I have these gloves on. Just to make sure that I'm ready. Let me get a plate real quick. Alrighty, I am back. I just want to get a plate because I want that chicken where I can get it. I'll turn that down to a medium heat so it's waiting. But I want that to drain a little bit, that chicken. So there's 8 pieces in there. Just like an 8-piece that you can get when you buy the fried chicken in those fast food places. You can actually make that at home. Now this one is off by a couple of ingredients that they would use at your local KFC. So it does have cayenne pepper in it that you could get from Popeye. The main difference between Popeye chicken and KFC is that the cayenne powder is way hot. So I just want to pull these out of all of this milk. And then drain a little bit. I don't want to dry them off as well. They're going to take on that powder real quick. It's not a rush. That oil's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. But the show is. Okay, we go ahead and move that out the way. And I always thank you guys for watching the entire show, just not a portion. So we go ahead and put this in out of the way. Now remember that oil is always hot. So if you got young people at home, make sure you turn that handle inwards. And even if you're old like me, you turn the handle inwards, somebody might get hurt. So we could always, like I said, we can take a little bit of that flour. You see it's boiling right there? So that's ready. So we go ahead and take that. Now I could actually take some and go over top of it. But an even better way would be, just like they do at those restaurants, you put half of that in there. Just half. And use that same method I showed you a minute ago. Make sure you close it up like that, twist it, and you can go around and around. Okay? That way it gets it well coated. It's one thing to have the buttermilk, but it's something else altogether to have that coating on it. Alright, so once again, I want to go in there at the same time so we get one more plate. Alright, so there's one more plate. We'll move that over there. We'll go ahead and start to separate those pieces. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and we'll put the last 4 pieces in. Don't worry about a mess. That's what cooking's about. Make sure you, like I said, make sure you close that bag real well. Just have a dust towel right there. If you have a brown bag, you just shake it up and down, all that much better. Okay, so that's good. We can actually merge those two plates now. I don't need that one anymore. So go ahead and take that chicken out. Just dab it, dry it a little bit. Don't let them sit on top of each other because they'll wet each other and that'll damage the seasoning. Okay. So I'm going to take that. See, it's still good. When you put it in there, put it away from you. Put it away from you so it splashes away. I can go ahead and turn that oil down a little bit now. We'll turn the fan on. Three pieces there. Everybody doesn't want to get burned. Like, oh, don't burn me with the oil. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fry that. Now you can see that it has that red seasoning, the paprika is showing real good right there. Make sure the oil is turned down. You can heat it up to start the fry, and make sure you turn it down as it cooks over time. You're going to cook it each side roughly about 5 to 7 minutes. And then you rotate it, and then you do the same thing. If it's not done, you turn it over till it is done. If you like it dark, you do it that way, okay? So we're going to do that on both sides. We're going to come back and show you how it looks when it's finished. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. Clean this mess, too. Guess what time it is? The chicken's cooked. It's looking good. Come on, let's see. Okay, so I put a lid on it. Now you can do that with fried chicken. Not where it's dangerous. So you don't want to have too much oil in there. You don't want to see it boil over. If you have a gas fire, you don't want to see a flame. But chicken, just like any KFC or Popeyes, they do cook well under pressure instead of open container. So that lid is just to keep down the splatters and that type of thing. So we can take that lid off now. And you can see the chicken, nice golden brown and a few pieces dark skinned the way I like it. We'll take that out. Look at the crust on it. You see it? This is Southern Cookout or what? There's no limit to what you can actually do at the house instead of buying some kind of fast food junk that costs you 8 times as much as what you could have did yourself. Alright. Look at it. A few bucks. And what do you have? Some of the best fried chicken in the world. So go out today, you know how to get it. We're back in just a minute. Don't go nowhere. This is hot. We're going to make some mashed potatoes, and I'm going to cook it, then I'm going to eat it. We'll be right back. Today on Assault on Manhood, a Kentucky wife kills her husband and 2 daughters because she didn't want them growing up without a mother. A Kentucky mom who allegedly admitted to shooting her husband and 2 teen daughters to death was sentenced Wednesday to life in prison. Now, the special prosecutor said Courtney Taylor, a 44-year-old woman and wife, also claimed to have attempted suicide that day in 2017. It took this long just to get to court. Now, this was reported in the News Journal. The motive for the shooting, according to testimony from a Kentucky State Police detective, involved a dispute with her husband. And remember, it's always about money when it comes to killing a guy. But it's a dispute with her husband over a depleted $264,000 cash settlement deposit 6 months earlier, with Taylor writing a letter that she shot her kids because she didn't want them growing up without a mother. So it was about money. Why'd you make it about the children? Now, Taylor was sentenced after entering an offered plea. And if you watched this channel before, I've told you what offered pleas do. You can get them in just about any state. It's spelled ALLALFORD, plea, which maintains her innocence but concedes that she believed the prosecutor had enough evidence to convict her. And they do this in a lot of cases where It saves them from going to court, saves them from going to trial, wasting taxpayers' money. If you admit you did it, we'll give you a lesser sentence. So a lot of people who kill people, they take these offered pleas. Anyway, her plea averted a trial in which prosecutors had planned to recommend the death penalty. And that was according to the News and Journal. The bodies of her husband, Larry Taylor, 56, and daughters Jessie Taylor, who was 18, and Jolie Taylor, who was only 13, all were found shot in separate bedrooms of the family's Williamsburg home. Now, if you watch Killer Wives on this network, I've told you before that most women kill people who are close to them, like a family. Most guys kill strangers that they don't know. So officers who responded to the scene on January 13, 2017 incident were met by Courtney Taylor pointing a 9mm handgun at them. Now, this resulted in Whitley County Sheriff's Deputy Jonas Sanders firing 2 shots that struck Miss Taylor and put her in a hospital for about 2 weeks. Now, she was lucky they didn't kill her, because everybody knows, had that been a man, you'd be pushing up daisies today. You would be dead. But from her hospital bed, Taylor gave police a lengthy recorded statement in which she blamed her husband for spending most of the workers' compensation settlement that she'd received about 6 months prior to the shooting. Now, when guys get one lump sum settlement, most of the wives think that's their money, that they shouldn't share. But in this case, she thought he should not share. Now, if you want to keep up with the latest crime coverage, all you got to do is follow this network, hit the like button and the bell to make sure that you're subscribed to it. Because every time we come one of these crazy, nutty, fruity stories, you want to hear about them. See, on the other major networks, they may keep that from you, but we always tell you what happened to these guys. But what's even funny, Mrs. Taylor otherwise claimed she had no memory of the killings. See, she's already set up her trial, which prosecutors Jackie Steele weighed while considering 3 factors that affected the decision to accept the offered plea to Starwood. Now, the prosecutor said 1 is the drug use, which she said she participated in while trying to commit suicide that day. So if a guy says he took drugs prior to shooting his wife and killing his family, the court doesn't care about anything about that. He's not going to get an offered plea. So it was said that whether or not she did, I don't know. The things is where she was shot twice and advocating her arrest. So the prosecutor believes that post-traumatic syndrome is a possibility where there can be a memory loss, after she was shot. Her memory loss came before she was shot because she shouldn't have done it. And then also she had multiple surgeries and was under anesthesia for 2 gunshot wounds for several days after the events, which can also cause some memory loss. But you don't have memory loss if you take your spouse out in conscious effort in advance with your children. There's no memory loss there. So, and continuing on, it says, taking those 3 factors in account, there was a possibility that she couldn't remember anything, said Steele. The offered plea was an attractive option because it meant Taylor will never walk out of prison. Now, prior to her sentencing Wednesday to life in prison, without the possibility of parole, Taylor entered her plea to 3 counts of capital murder. And this has been a long journey, defense attorneys always say, to get these people to fess up to what they did. It doesn't matter if you say he spent the money. The penalty for spending people's money is not death. There's no country that has a death penalty for spending money. Now, the prosecutor further said, I think everyone, including Courtney, hopes that this gives everyone a sense of closure and allows people to have some peace in their life. I say the peace came before you broke the peace when you did that. You hear in society, they always say if a guy is not pleased with his family, to get up and leave, brother. To get a divorce. Do something, but don't shoot your family. So the same thing goes whether you're a woman and you killed your husband and killed your children. If you were mad about your husband spending money, right? What does that have to do with the children? For Eminem, for the early morning show, this is Assault on Manhood. Stick around. We're going to give you a preview of Killer Wives. And you know what happens on that show. Watch your back, brother. We'll be right back. Here's your preview for Killer Wise. And now we bring you Killer Wise, Episode 11, Jealousy. These are the actual case facts of Marquita Sutton, who stabbed her husband to death. Isn't trust a bitch? Laurel, Maryland, famous for its location between Baltimore and Washington, D.C., the headquarters for the National Security Agency, and the murder of one Mr. Johnny Sutton III.
Negative K, nothing further, just city cabbie on the corner.
Neighbors in the Frostwood Drive community would tell you that from the outside, Johnny and Marquita Sutton appeared to be that happy family. As in most of these cases, from the outside, they did.
I care less about what you think of me and more about what I think of me. Abundance coming easily, I'm tapped into that frequency. What you think of me ain't none of my business. What you think of me ain't none of my. What I spark don't get you lit, so why you give a shit? Talking out your ass, we revoke your membership. Falling off the cliff, hope you niggas get a grip. It's enough to go around if you tune into the sounds. Tap into the universal laws to get it all. You already have it in you, but you hold it and you stall. We ain't gotta die to see heaven, we can live it. If you want something, gotta be willing to give it. Not for the return, purely for the feeling. Take some time to get a line of structures that we building. Expansion we increase cause we have to. Thank God every day and your mama cause she had you. She really didn't have to, you here now.